Hello, I'm Paul.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Ben.
And welcome to the Filmbusters podcast. The film show with no filters, no prisoners taken, loads of disagreements, but one hell of a love for cinema.
If you want to hear three friends ridiculing each other for an hour or so regarding their taste in films, then you have come to the right place.
In each episode, one of the team picks a film for us to discuss. It could be anything from a recent cinema release to an all-time classic.
So, strap in and get ready to get mad or get vindicated as we guide you through the murky world of being a film geek.
If you like what you hear, you can also find us on Twitter and Instagram using @FilmbustersPod. You can also find each of our individual accounts. I'm at Filmbusters Paul.
I'm at Filmbusters Adam.
And I'm at Filmbusters Ben.
If you want to use your eyes instead of your ears, you can also visit the website at filmbusterspod.co.uk.
And if busting makes you feel good, you can also support us at patreon.com/filmbusters for exclusive content.
Alright, can we just get on with this now, please?
Filmbusters.
Oh, Ben, wonderful Ben, it's so lovely to have you back. How are you?
I'm homesick for the home that is abroad. Because I'm back.
I bet you
and
are.
I want to be abroad again.
Was it beautiful?
It was lovely. It was my first holiday in 4 years, man. And this is a depressing country to stay in for 4 fucking years. Well, yes, I was very delighted to hear that the weather was quite appalling while I was away in my 30-degree heat.
It was very nice today, though.
It was nice today. It was nice yesterday as well. Went out in shorts yesterday and today.
Oh, wow, we were. Well, come on, tell us a little about your holiday.
My holiday was quite divine. I would say we've said that it's possibly... Jenny would say, I think, that it's the best holiday we've been on. And I'm not sure. I think it's tied with first place. I find it very hard. It's tied with the Dominican Republic back in 2013.
Oh, lovely.
But Dominican Republic's had 10 years of history for me to look back on, you see. It's just like a film. It's like when a 10 out of 10 film comes and you're like, oh, is it better than the one that I've known about for 20 years? Time will tell. But it was delightful.
It's got the nostalgia.
Yes. The people we went to Rhodes, folks, we went to Rhodes right after the wildfires started burning. We were in the safer area where there were no fires, but honestly, from the minute the taxi driver picked us up at the airport, he was like, your British press have so over-egged the pudding that you've scared tourists off of this place. They're like, it was bad, but nowhere near as bad as they're making out. They had to evacuate people, but the way it was covered. Anyway, the people were lovely. The place was thriving. The sea was gorgeous. The drinks was gorgeous. The whole period was just joyous and wonderful, and I miss it terribly.
Oh, what's the best meal you had?
Oh boy, there's a place called Carne. And we looked it up before we even went to Rhodes. #1 rated restaurant in the whole island. And as you would assume by the name, it's meat. Specialised in meat. We went there, Rhodes town, pretty much by the sea. Sat down, lovely staff, absolutely lovely staff. And by that I don't just mean like polite, courteous. Like it felt like he was the owner. He probably wasn't, but he came over to the table and it's like, how are you doing? I'm going to be looking after you this evening. What kind of thing are you in the mood for? Take a look at this, take a look at that. Pristine, immaculate. You know that when you go for a nice meal and the service is enough to know that they're there, so you know you're never going to want for anything, but not so oppressive that they're like coming over to your table every 5 minutes and whatnot.
Yeah.
Anyway, the whole experience was lovely. I had saganaki prawns to start, which is like fried phyllo pastry fried prawns with a sort of like a garlic. So no, it wasn't garlic sauce. I can't remember what it was. It was delicious anyway. And then I had my lovely. It wasn't T-bone steak. It was like tenderloin steak, which was incredible. And then we had a chocolate souffle dessert, and we had a bottle of wine with dinner, and then we had a bottle of Retsina after our dessert, and we were
Retsina?
fucked. It's a very high alcohol content. It's like made from white rice grain, I think. Okay. High dilution of alcohol, but a very small bottle, like a Tabasco sauce sized bottle. And we had that between us, and we were fucked. We went off into the night, and that's when when I was sending you boys. Yeah, that's when I sent you boys videos from that rock bar where the guy was singing covers of stuff and all that.
Oh yes.
And That was good, very good. And I must say, like, that as wonderful as the whole holiday was, the thing that me and Jenny are both sick over the most is this cocktail guy who he was. It feels wrong to even call him the cocktail guy, but that's how we met him. He was the guy who did the bar at our restaurant, the Pool Bar, and he worked from 11 in the morning until 10 at night every single day. And from the moment that we sat down, he knew that we were serious drinking people. Because this guy was like, I'm going to make concoctions for you guys. I can tell you want something special. Every day we were giving him a challenge. And we'd go to the shop and buy like fucking sweets. And I'd come back and say, you got 1 hour. You got to make a cocktail that complements this sweet. And he was like, oh, fuck, well, he'd come back in an hour, and then he'd made these incredible things. He did me Bloody Marys. He said he'd never done Bloody Marys. He went out and got all the ingredients for it, and he was refining the Bloody Marys every day. Anyway, as time transpired, we just spent so much time there with him, talking to him. He was the nicest fucking guy. And he went from just being the cocktail guy at the bar to our dear friend, and he's going to come over. He's going to come over to South London at some point, and I can't wait for him to do so. So shout out to Tony, the cocktail man, over there in Rhodes. We love you. You're such a sweetheart. He's such a fucking sweetheart. He was real good company. And he was like, as we were getting to the end of the holiday, he was like, what the hell am I going to do once you guys are gone? And he's like, I'm going to be so bored. He's been sending us videos of like just the bar being empty. He's like, I had nothing to do today, so I just cleaned the bar. I must have tried every cocktail under the fucking sun. I have a new appreciation for cocktail making and cocktails just generally now. I've already bought some things that I never thought I'd buy before. I bought Blue Curacao, which has sort of got that liquor content, slightly orange twinge to it, but when you pour it into a drink, it makes it blue. Already had some grenadine and some, obviously, no bitters over here, but bought some triple sec to really ramp up the alcohol content as well. Getting more gin and vodka in. Yeah. Oh, fuck. Miss it. We went out yesterday for a walk, and we ended up just having cocktails because we were like, we miss it too much.
You got an addiction.
Just keep the fucking holiday going, that's what I say.
Never stop.
But I miss my boys, of course, and one of the great pleasures was listening. I was sat around the pool. I should have been at the beach, but I was at the pool, and your Red Turtle episode popped up on my feed, and I listened to Red Turtle around the pool, and I was very happy to hear you boys talking about that. That was nice.
Oh, good.
Haven't heard your Pride episode, of course, because I haven't seen the film, but
yeah, we look forward to your take on it.
There you go. Anyway, pleasure to be back with you both.
Exciting times. Well, what are we doing today? This is your pick, Ben. Do you want to introduce it?
So I picked, before I went on holiday, I picked The Bad Sleep Well, Kurosawa film. We've never touched Kurosawa before. 2.5 hours. Big boy.
It's a big boy.
It's a big boy from Japan.
Well, that's exciting. I look forward to talking about this film. But
well, I can't begin to guess what you two think about this film, so I'm very intrigued.
Yeah, very intrigued. Okay, well, before we get into it, let's just talk about our Patreon. We've got a Patreon at www.patreon.com/filmbusters, where you can get exclusive episodes. You can come on the show. You can suggest films for us to do, or you can just have a lovely time because we've got wonderful people there. What we're doing on the Patreon after this episode, Adam.
We are talking about jaded lovers and love and revenge films kind of thing. So.
Oh, yes, indeed. Why are we doing this, Ben?
We are doing it because Katie and OT, who were the instigators of this round, with the housemaid, handmaidenly.
I can't remember what it's called.
There's one of them things. Gave us this as a topic, and because we're so delayed, we're only getting around to it now. But I must confess that I haven't done my research for the topic. I ain't had the time. Maybe as the episode goes, I might be able to do it off the top of my head once we get there at the end, like Adam does.
I'm sure you can.
But we'll see.
I have faith in you.
Okay, well, I'll try.
When Adam says that, I get scared, but with you, I feel
I also
confident.
haven't really looked at them. I've got a couple ideas, but...
Well, I've done the research, everyone.
Oh, good. No one's allowed to have Fatal Attraction. That's a cheat.
I have not got Fatal Attraction.
That's all I've got.
Okay, so should we move somewhat onto talking about the film we're doing today, The Bad Sleep Well, and go on to the quiz, Adam?
Yes. You ready for it?
Let's do it. Do you want to introduce it?
The quiz has been on a little sleep because Ben's been off, so it's not really fair to do it without him, even though it probably wouldn't make a difference in the amount of points he's got.
Oh, Jesus.
Cheeky one.
I'm going to ask these two guys 2 questions, and if they get it right, they get points. If they get it wrong, I get the points. The scores currently stand. Paul's got 16, I've got 13, and Ben has 9.
I tell you what, Adam, if you get the point, it'll be the first time in your life you ever did.
That's an ironic silence there, by the way, because I was trying to pretend that I didn't get the point.
No, it's a you've been served silence, baby.
I thought you meant like I
been
didn't get the point of
served.
the joke, so that's why I was going to be silent about it.
Well, there you go. It worked doubly. You horrendous individual.
All right, are you ready for question number 1?
I hope so.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
What level did his dad fall out of?
7.
Well done, Ben.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
They only mentioned
When
it
is it?
once in the film, at the very
When was
beginning.
it at the beginning? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I was
gonna
very
say
glad they didn't,
13.
'cause I was like, fuck, if I keep asking this, it's going to destroy my question.
Oh, that's
The
very
minute
good.
the minute that they bring that cake in with the rose in the window, I was like, oh, that's what the poster is. I always just assumed
Yeah.
it was like a cross in like
I thought it was
big
like a crossword
checkbox
thing or something like that.
Yes.
Is it not a cross? I thought it was a cross.
It's a rose.
Is it
It's
on
a
the
rose in the
poster?
cake. On the poster, it's a picture. It's that postcard that he picks up later, which has a cross over the window.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I thought. I thought you were saying that the rose is on the picture of the
Oh, no.
poster. No, okay.
No.
For this next question is kind of a case whoever comes closest. You ready?
Okay.
Right.
At the time of filming, how many US dollars did 5 million yen equate to?
Oh, fuck. At the time of filming.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even know what it is now.
Yen. I'm going to say yen is. I'm going to say like 500 grand.
Okay.
I'm going to go less. I'm going to say 200 grand.
You're both way off. I feel like I should give Ben a point just for keeping the quiz fun.
You said who's nearest. You said who's nearest. So who's
but
going to
then
be
I don't
nearest?
know how I wouldn't score a point on it. So you are nearest, Ben. It's the equivalent of £13,900. Or dollars.
Oh, fuck. That's so low.
Jesus.
And apparently, if you were now times that by inflation, it would be £1,400,000. £145,000.
What, it'd be less?
Sorry.
I was about to say, I was about to say that makes sense.
I read that completely wrong in my head, and then I fucking.
Well, that makes sense because in the film, one of the characters says, "Why would he risk his well-paid job for such a small amount?"
Yeah.
That's nuts, isn't it?
Literally, the whole film is based on like 14 grand.
Check it out. I think I should get both points. You can't be harsh on me. You said who's nearest.
There you
Even
go.
though it's like I was going to say like within 5 grand, but
Hey, I'm back in the game. I'm fresh off holiday.
To make it
Holidays refresh
interesting.
me.
yeah, we need some points in here.
Well, I've got the points.
It's because Adam sassed you. I mean, you
It
kind
is.
of deserved that you get all the
I
points.
haven't sassed you.
You did not
did.
sass Ben at the beginning. Yes, you did.
You sassed me immediately.
When did I sass you?
You sassed me so much you
Short-term
forgot which
memory, this
instance
boy.
it was. I know. The worst, this guy.
Well,
Thanks for
well
both
done.
points.
Well done. What are the scores?
That gives Ben 11. The rest of the scores stay the same.
Do you know what that means? Next episode, I could level up with Adam.
Yep.
Oh, baby, baby.
Yes.
We'll have to find out what happens, won't we?
It's a wild world.
Good song. We are in uncharted territory.
Shall we go to uncharted territory and speak about the Bad Sleep Well? Right, everyone, today we're doing The Bad Sleep Well from 1960 by Akira Kurosawa. This is a spoiler episode, so if you haven't seen it, we're going to go and spoil it terribly for you, so you might want to go watch it first, then come back. Otherwise, you've been warned. Clearly, there's no one we've done before in a film, because I don't think we've ever tackled a Japanese film from this far back, so not many actors would have been in anything. Yeah. Apart from that, it's over to you, Adam, for the plot summary.
Yeah, so this is about a guy who's getting married and then decides, well, they bring out his cake, and in the cake as you found out in the quiz.
Just his cake, not his bride's.
What is going on with this plot description?
Well, in the wedding cake, they put a rose. There was a picture of the building and there was a rose, and it's basically like his dad died, and it made him get angry and decide to get revenge for his dad's death.
You didn't listen to this. You didn't really listen to what was happening.
It was only
in
when he
this
saw the cake. The cake was like, oh.
film. Who sent the cake, Adam?
This is a plot summary. Like, I'm going to tell you the cake because that's what we're going to talk about in a bit.
Adam
I
sent
can't
the
wait
cake.
for you to know. I can't wait to see your opinion on who
The
sent
cake arrived. He got angry. He wanted revenge.
Okay, there we go. That is the plot description, guys. Ben, have you got anything on this film?
Just as Shakespeare would have summarised it also. Hey, William, what's your latest play about? Well, the guy gets married and they send him a cake and he gets angry because there's a picture with it. Oh, dear. Very good, Adam. Anyway, this was based on Shakespeare's play Hamlet. The idea for the story came from Akira Kurosawa's nephew, who brought the idea for the story to him, and Akira Kurosawa developed it with about 4 or 5 other writers. And his nephew was never credited on the film. What a bastard of an uncle he must have been, hey? It was originally called The Worse the Villain, The Better They Sleep. And this Kurosawa film was the first to be produced under his own independent production company. The decision to form his own production company, called Kurosawa Productions, was a result of his frustration at Toho Studios giving him grief for going over budget on his previous film, The Hidden Fortress. So as his first independent film, he thought it'd be an insult to audiences if he made a film just for money's sake. So he decided The Bad Sleep Well would be a film of social significance and of substance. The script took 80 days to write and was carefully crafted so it didn't resemble any actual real-life cases of corruption in Japan, though it was most certainly based on a lot of them. The film reunited Kurosawa with his favourite leading man, Toshiro Mifune, famous for Yojimbo, Sanjuro, and about 14 other films. And Francis Ford Coppola, this is the most interesting bit of trivia of everything, Francis Ford Coppola called The Bad Sleep Well one of his favourite films, and he credits that opening wedding scene as the inspiration for the wedding scene in The Godfather. And I think there's quite a lot of similarities with The Godfather.
Yeah, sure.
So there you go.
Beautiful. That was lovely. Thank you. Ben, you got a Karen speaking though, because this is your film, so you get to decide what impressions you want first.
Oh yeah, we're going to do classic reverse film busters, so it shall be I first.
Okay then.
So I've seen about 3 or 4 Kurosawas before this. Most of them are, well, no, Yojimbo and, Sanjuro, the 2 samurai films, obviously very stylistically kind of the same as this, because they're both about revenge, but very, very different genre. And the other one was Ikiru, which was similar in some respects to this because it was about a businessman who was very unhappy with his lot and about trying to find the meaning in life. And out of all of them, I never really took to any of them apart from Yojimbo. I really loved Yojimbo because Yojimbo was the same lead actor from this, Toshiro Mifune, and I thought he's a great leading man. And he comes into this town as this samurai guy and he cleans up the town. It sounds really cliched, but it was really well executed and very well done. So I wasn't sure that I was necessarily going to love this because it's completely tonally different. And when it opened up and you can see that it's kind of set in the business world, like even though it's a wedding, it's a lot of dry businessmen, none of whom really have much of a personality that springs out because it's all very reserved and restrained in that typically Japanese style of cinema. I was like, oh, this could be hard work, 2.5 hours of this. But by the end of that wedding scene, I was like, God damn, what an opening to a film. So much so that one of the reporters is like, that was a great act 1, and the other guy is like, that's not act 1, that's just the prelude. And you're like, oh fuck, what we getting into here? We're about to go on to an epic journey, for fuck's sake. They're acknowledging that it's a prelude. And then the story goes on. And the way that Kurosawa crafted this story I thought was brilliant because I know nothing of Hamlet. I don't know anything about it. I don't know how faithful it was to that story or anything like that. So I was just completely in this story as it was happening. And at first I thought, oh, this could get confusing, particularly when they started saying, oh, you ripped off this one and this chief did this and did that. And I was like, but when that first reveal came, when I say the reveal, I mean that moment where Wada is climbing the volcano and then Nishi comes to him and it's like, these people are terrible, and you're like, oh fuck, you just married into this family, what are you doing? And it's like, oh shit, you're like this Bruce Wayne figure, you're like Batman in this story. And I was like, I'm in for this. This is an internal revenge story. I want to see what you're going to do, how you're going to bring this all down. And the way that the whole story played out in that world, which is so alien to our world, I thought was fascinating. And without knowing the Hamlet story, the fact that he's clearly been able to adapt what was an Elizabethan England story into a story of contemporary Japanese business society in the 60s is incredible work. I was in for the whole ride. I thought the whole Wada as a ghost thing was brilliant. I thought the guy Shirai, I think it was, who was being tormented by the ghost of Wada was incredible. I liked the texture between having this terrible president who was also a good father at the same time was brilliant and progressive for the time to balance out the two things. And I liked the idea of playing with, if you stare enough into the abyss, you become a monster yourself, which is kind of what was happening with Nishi. However, I thought the ending, by the ending I mean the last 30 minutes, was a bit of a letdown. The minute they get to the bombed out site, the story sort of loses its steam a bit, and while there's some good moments, it wasn't as good as everything that came before it. But I thought it was great. I think there's a fair few things to discuss in it as well, and I was very impressed, and I would say that this is the upper end of the Kurosawas that I have seen.
There we go.
All right, is it me?
Yes, that's you now.
I kind of totally agree with the first bit. The wedding was absolutely, I love that wedding scene. You're straight on board with this film. It's kind of high tensions are straight in there. There's kind of no mucking around. But as the film went on, it really lost me, to be honest. I really struggled to try and get into this film and keep in this film. It was 1 second, it's like, who's this person here? Who's this? Like, all of that kind of stuff is what I struggled with quite a lot. Like, especially when they're referencing people who aren't in the scenes. Yeah, and I think overall it just kind of led me to not being totally engrossed in this storyline, and I kind of lost it, and it started to really drag towards the end. I know you said it ran out of steam, but for me, the last half an hour was kind of painful. It was kind of like looking at the clock kind of time. And I'm sorry to bring a Debbie Downer on, then so much excitement towards it.
Well, come on, that's all right. You can be the opposite end of the spectrum. Let's hear from Paul, see where he goes with it.
I think it's going to be interesting to talk about this because clearly it was a struggle for Adam because he didn't really understand the story. If you by your plot description, so I'd be interested just to talk through it with you so you can kind of get to grips with what was happening. But going into this blind was certainly the way to go because I think it adds so much to the mystery unfolding throughout. Considering I knew nothing. I knew absolutely nothing. So the film is like always 2 steps ahead of you at all times, and I love that. Right, the loyalty of the characters, who people even are, which I know was a struggle for Adam. It was a struggle for me too, but I was kind of like working out as I went along, and I didn't think it like impeded it, and like what the hell was even going on half the time. But it only goes to add to the enjoyment for me. But as much as I enjoyed this film, I don't think it actually gets any better than its prelude, as the press calls it, which I thought was like pretty perfect. Like from being introduced to its sordid characters, teasing the plot, introducing a woman with one leg shorter than the other, rolling that cake out. Like it's almost like the horse's head in the bed, which from The Godfather. But I adored it. Brilliant stuff. And that isn't to say there isn't some other wonderful stuff in this film, because there is, like, but we can kind of get into that as we go. But as a whole, I had like pretty wonderful time with this. And then I know you said you did like the half an hour, the last half hour, Ben, but to end it the way they did, I think was really well played, because it leaves you questioning what you've just watched. And like, is this the truth? Is what we're being told actually what happened? And then I think that's just pure magic. But that is my first impression.
I'm interested to talk about what you mean by that, but let's not talk about it just yet.
Yeah, we'll go into
Let's
it a bit
put a
later.
pin in that, because this sounds like it could be another Handmaiden type
Yeah, potentially.
interpretation of the ending.
Yeah.
One thing I will say that I think that stands up, I think we probably all agree with it. It is difficult with a film like this, where there is quite a few characters, when you are reading the subtitles and getting names of people, you don't, when you don't understand the language and you're seeing subtitles saying, oh, Nishi says this, Shirai says this, Wada's this, you're like, but which one is this one? When you're watching it in your mother tongue, if someone says Shirai, you know, okay, you're not Shirai, then you're that person's Shirai. But when you're reading subtitles,
it rather than almost watching
yes.
where the words are coming from at the same time.
So I would say, for sure, the first 45 minutes is like, I don't know, when you're saying when these characters are saying names, I don't know who you mean. However, I think they use their names so often, it became quite clear who it was who, particularly Nishi and particularly Wada. Nishi and Wada became very clear early on who they were.
Yeah,
I thought.
And I think it's a credit to the story to be able to wrap you up in this story, even though half the time you're like, okay, I'm not really getting to grips completely with what's happening, but I'm on board. I'm already on board for it, kind of thing. And I think that's credit to the film for that.
I think 100% that wedding scene helps big time.
Absolutely.
Because it's like,
Absolutely.
okay, we got the central premise and we got intrigue here. So let's just talk about let's go wedding scene.
Yeah.
Adam, for clarity's sake, just this is what the interpretation was of what's happening there. Nishi is marrying the daughter of President Iwabuchi, who's the vice president, of Public Call, Yoshiko. His only reason, really, which we later find out, but his only reason for marrying her is because he wants to get in close to the company to get revenge for the fact that the company killed his father, made his father jump from the window. So he sent the cake to his own wedding.
Okay, yes. Yes, that makes
So he sent that cake. It was immediately, I know.
The man who's plotting with the whole time is the real Nishi, and he's taken his identity.
Yeah, I got that bit. And I know he was like trying to say he was like the long lost, or whatever it was, illegitimate son.
Yeah, of the guy.
But that's true. He was
that.
that. He was that illegitimate son of that dad.
Yeah, and that's what it was. It was constructed from him from the beginning. So he wasn't just he married into the family for that purpose.
That purpose, which is why, like, throughout the film, it became such a big deal about the brother was like, if you hurt my sister, I'll kill you. And like several characters were like, oh, she's a sweet girl. Like, you shouldn't be treating her that way. If you don't love her, you should leave her, and all this sort of stuff. Which I don't think is
the only thing about Hamlet I know is like in The Simpsons. I think they do a Treehouse of Terror episode, and they base it on Hamlet.
There you go. This is how we get our pop culture is how we access Shakespeare now.
Literally, the only recognition I have of some type of the storyline.
And what happens in that episode?
I think Homer dies, and then Moe marries Marge, and then Bart comes back and kills Moe.
Oh yeah, well that's I've subsequently just done a plot summary of Hamlet, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, Hamlet's father dies, and then there's a ghost period. Blah blah blah. Anyway, it's all about ghosts, people who are dead but aren't dead, and they're seeing ghosts, but they're actually real people, etc. Everything that happens in this. Yeah. But you can totally see the in Godfather. Like, you've got all of the press outside the wedding, haven't you? They're rushing at every car that comes. And I like that the press are kind of like, you know, even without knowing Hamlet, in Shakespeare, you've got this Greek chorus, which is always like sort of explaining what's going on in the story. And that's what the press are. Like, that's our way of calibrating and orientating ourselves. Very good.
It's almost
very
like
good way.
they're sitting in the audience with you and kind of going, like whispering to you, like, oh, this is the guy from this. He did this. This is history. It's kind of like, it's a good way to play it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing in Godfather, which he was lazy in the way that he did it, Coppola, although I appreciate the way he did it, he just had Pacino bring in Kay. And it's like, oh, this is how I'm going to introduce the film to you. You are the proxy for the audience, and I'm just going to go, oh, there's Luca Brasi. There's my brother. Yeah. There's the thing. This was cleverer than that.
And it was
But
very
I
humorous
was
as
very
well.
disorientated. Yeah,
Being
it
in the
was.
heads of those people from the press, and they're almost like mocking all these people, all these fat cats, and
They
was
were
a great
loving
way
it.
to
They
do
were
it,
loving
yeah.
seeing them sweat.
yeah, absolutely. And they were sweating, man. Them three
They were
running around.
sweating.
It's a good way to introduce the characters. Like, these are your three big bad guys.
Yeah.
And it's a good way to kind of, not all the way, but kind of start to get a grip with what we're working with in this film.
Yeah. Like immediately, it's like, okay, we're going to be talking about corporate greed, cover-ups, conspiracy on a business level. Which, even though I was intrigued, I was like, don't be too much business though. I don't really like stories about business.
Yeah, absolutely.
But fortunately, it even though that was in there, that wasn't like the overriding thing of the story.
No, I think it was like kind of the energy of the characters and like the threat of there's something going on that you're not quite sure, but it's clearly something that's really worrying these characters. And you're like, yeah, I'm on board. Just tell me what it
Yeah.
is.
And regardless of whether Nishi wanted to marry her or not, which he didn't, this is the most miserable wedding I've ever seen. Barely anyone
Oh yeah, then
smiled.
no one looked excited.
No one was happy. Not even just the guests.
You know what I found quite crazy is how they used "Here Comes the Bride" the song. I was like, "This is
Did they?
Japan." Yeah, they like
they did, yeah.
I was like,
Wow.
"This is Japan in the '60s." Like, how long has this song been around for? I don't know. Just like the history of that song and like how it's. I thought it was kind of more of like a Western culture kind of.
Yeah, I would have said that as well.
Even in like Wedding in France, I wouldn't imagine them using that.
No,
Because
it's true.
the words translate into that. I can't imagine the words in Japanese translate to that rhythm. Like,
No, you're right.
Unless you just make the words sound like that in your head, because that's how you know it. But
Well, I mean, there you go. It
I'm
transcends.
taking that away from the film if I haven't taken anything.
Yeah, I didn't notice that. Thank you.
Little bit of insight
then-
from Adam.
Yes. The minute that second cake is wheeled in, I was like, oh, here we go, some drama. I like this.
That's
Here's
a
some
big old
drama.
cake as well. That must have cost him a lot of money.
A lot of money.
That's probably
And wasted.
more than the 5 million yen that's got stolen. And
Oh, yes. And not a single person would have eaten that cake because it would have been considered cursed cake at that wedding. Can you imagine? I'm going to have a slice of the big evidence cake over here.
I'm going to have the rose. I'm going to take that one window there. That's the I want.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Can I have the suicide window, please?
Yeah.
I do like their faces as that's being wheeled in as well. They always kind of want to ignore what's happening. It's like,
Yeah.
let's not pay any attention to this. I'm sure half the people are a bit confused about what the meaning of this was.
They're like, this wedding doesn't need any excitement in it. We cannot have any excitement at this wedding.
But yeah, and then that was our sort of Act 1 intro. And then we started seeing, and now I've got to ask this, right? You couldn't make this film in another country, I don't think, because once we get this fraudulent business premise set up where some people are being questioned and lawyers are getting involved and whatnot, I don't believe there are many countries in the world where a film could be like, there's so much pressure in the business world from the higher ups that your only way out is to kill yourself. That feels like
that's very honour system in Japan.
it's an honor system, right? Yeah, I don't mean that in a closed-minded way, but in
just
America,
quit your
that's
job.
just not going to fly, is
You
it?
just quit
Exactly.
and move on and get another job. You don't have to end your whole life.
Can you fucking imagine being so wedded to your company that you kill yourself for them fucks who didn't give a shit
Well,
about
the
you?
whole thing, I can't remember, I think it was like one of these James May episodes when he goes around and he talks about why people in Japan are so invested in jobs. And I think I can't remember the exact reason, but it's like...
There's a lot of honor in holding certain positions.
Yeah, and it's like, it's a sign of respect. Like if you move, you respect that company, and also how they have that kind of, I think it's a bit more of like the German thing where cities are based around companies as well. How like certain cities, most of the employees work for one company because that company is so big there that everybody does that. So yeah, unless you're moving around and moving cities all the time, you don't really move your jobs.
Horrendous.
There's also a very big thing about, like, as you say, dishonor in that kind of country. It's like you want to always save face. You never want to know that your marriage is failing and stuff like that. It's like they stick to their guns with everything.
Well, we had that actually, even with the housemaid.
Yeah.
For Korea, I know, not Japan, but if we're talking about, East Asia, the dishonour of that girl who was let go from the factory because she came on to her teacher and what she did. Crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have no honour here in the West. We would just be like, yeah, fuck it, we'll live with it.
We'll move to a different place. Everyone would know. No one would know us, and we start again.
But that shocked me, when that guy was like, I know you'll see this through to the bitter end. And then he just runs under that truck. I was like, oh, fuck, I wasn't expecting that. You were laughing 5 seconds ago.
Yeah. You seriously love your job.
So, yeah, Adam would do that. That's definitely Adam.
Yeah.
Or run into a truck.
Corporate
Yeah,
fuck.
for the BBC.
No.
I've run under a car, won't hurt as much.
Yeah. I get hit by a bike.
And now, what an elaborate place for Wada to go to try and kill himself, though, by throwing himself into a volcano. How epic is that?
I know.
That guy was always looking like he was about to cry. Like throughout the beginning of that film, like he always looked in a lot of distress.
I played it well, though.
You would too if you had his teeth.
I know, you look like he hadn't
played it very well.
seen, he hadn't slept in like 4 years. Like he was just like a man on the run who's been beaten.
Imagine though, your life's been stripped from you. You've pretty much been taken from your own life. Your whole family thinks you're dead. Your company is out to kill you. It's like his life's been stripped from him.
But didn't you love that reveal though? Because when Nishi first is there and is like, don't kill yourself with them. They treat cattle and swine better, and then they do that sort of pan down the volcano, and you hear Wada scream. I was like, okay, well he did die. Mm-hmm. And then when you saw that he's alive, I was like, oh shit, what have we got going on here now?
It's a very good
another
double
twist
bluff.
in the tail.
Yeah,
very
bluff.
good.
This next bit actually confused me a little bit and subsequently afterwards as well.
Oh mate, if you say what I think you're going to say, I'm absolutely with you. Go on.
I thought that the man who was in the apartment was the brother.
Was the brother? Absolutely. And it confused me to no end.
Yeah, and then because afterwards the way they were talking to each other, Nishi and the brother, was as if they were saying like, "Oh, he is evil, isn't he?" Or they were contemplating how evil he was.
I know.
And I was like,
mate, I cannot tell you how glad I am that you said that, because I thought by the end I was like, oh, what an idiot, because I was trying to get it in my head why the brother was then so upset when he found out that Nishi had gone out until 2 a.m. and left his sister at home. It's like, well, you know what he's doing.
Yeah.
Why are you acting like you don't know? I was getting well confused.
That was the part, wasn't it? When it's like, okay, it's not him.
All right, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah,
they were just very
totally
similar looking people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. Okay.
But yeah, as soon as that was cleared up and I realised it was actually the real Nishi, it was kind of okay. I know what's happening now.
Yeah. The scene that I thought was fantastic from beginning to end, and is already probably a shout for one of the best scenes from this year for me, is when he brings Wada to his own funeral, and he's just watching out the window as his wife's weeping. He sees everything. He hears the tape of his uppers laughing and joking about him. But the line that was crazy was when Wada said to Nishi, just let me die. We can't waste this fine funeral. It's like, oh my God, mate.
It's all about
this
that. It's
fine
that honor
funeral.
thing. It's that honor thing again. It's like he's been so honoured with this amazing funeral, and he's like, he'd rather be dead than have to have
I'd rather be dead and deserve it.
Would you like to look over your own funeral?
Hell no. I don't want to know who would and wouldn't turn up.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And also, I wouldn't. It would break my heart to see my loved ones grieving.
True.
Horrible.
But it's that whole thing of the love you get, and it's nice to. Sometimes you might need that love before.
Yeah, but what if you don't get it, mate? What if it's a handful of people?
Then you're dead anyway. So you might as well just die anyway. No one knows the difference.
Well, there you go.
You can jump out
just kill me. Just kill me.
Everybody's so happy. Like, oh my God, he's back. I appreciate you so much more.
I know.
That was very well played, and so was this act. This actor did a very good job of making you believe that he was so put out by this.
I would agree. Whoever said, I can't remember which one of you said it, that him and probably the guy who played Shirai were the two best actors in the whole thing. Best performances.
Who's Shirai? Is he the guy who goes crazy?
He's the guy who's yeah. Both of their performances were standout.
Yeah, he had great energy. He was so distinctive. like you knew instantly.
He looked like death at the end.
Yeah, very well played. Very well played.
Well, we'll shout them out. So Wada was Kamatari Fujiwara, and Shirai was Ko Nishimura. So take a bow, gentlemen.
It was just their energy. Well, they had this like heightened energy over the rest of the cast, and I think that's what helped them.
Well, the beauty was that they
out.
were like these two pawns that were being exposed. Like they were right stuck in the middle, because Nishi was this vengeant one, and the president was trying to be cool, calm, and composed. Opposite ends, and these guys are stuck in the middle. Like, what the fuck is this?
My favourite thing involving the president was a scene where he's talking to everybody and he's got his back to the camera, and it just reminded me so much of Seinfeld. Do you know when he keeps going?
No, Steinbrenner.
When George keeps going into the, what's his name? The one who runs the Yankees.
Steinbrenner. Steinbrenner.
And he's just him shouting from behind, like into the back of his head and the top of his chair. I was just laughing so much, I just couldn't get that image out of my head.
I was not thinking of Seinfeld, but it's a good point you make, yes.
I don't know if it almost took me, and probably made it harder for me to get into the film, because I was just kind of like just getting the piss taken out of it now.
He was laughing.
He was shouting at everybody. He was telling everybody what to do and like just talking over him. And
he was thinking of Kramer.
Yeah.
I like the level of him though, because although yes, as they were saying, he's this evil man, I like seeing him just like handling the barbecue at home and just like being this kind of down to earth, like kind of
very
dad.
very clever again.
Yeah, absolutely.
For that time to show us someone that you're basically presenting as evil, but then you're showing that softness, which you're only seeing at home though. Let's be honest.
Of course.
But yeah, it's weird. It's weird to see him, this ruthless man, and there he is, like trotting over to the fireplace to take the meat out very quickly before it burns in his apron and
this
shit.
film as well is it's such a masculine film. Like every character in it is a man, but effectively apart from obviously his wife, and this but it's such a masculine world that they're in. This whole business world there is so masculine. Even something like the secretary, which in an American film would probably be played by a female, was played by his son-in-law. Like every level of it, at every given, and it's like I imagine that's why the difference of people at home and in the workplace is so different to what they actually were.
Yeah, true. Feminized at home, rightly
You're
or
just like a
wrongly.
normal person, but when you go in, it's kind of like and a pit of like lions and stuff like that.
He was a little bit Tony Soprano, the president, in that way.
Yeah, for sure.
Did you, at this point, or maybe once we get, let's talk about the next bit and then I'll ask the question. So the next sort of like set piece bit is the old switcheroo with the 5 million yen, which I very much enjoyed watching the whole thing, from him going to get it and finding that postcard in the box to him telling the boss. And I love the bit where he was explaining everything to the boss, and he was like, and I have this code, and the key is kept here, and this and that.
That was
And the
almost like a
president's like,
sitcom. That was almost like stupid as well.
do you know what it reminded me
I leave
of?
it in my drawer and I don't leave it locked.
It reminded me of Greg in Succession when he said, I put the documents in a envelope labelled private. And Tom's like, oh, that was really clever, Greg. And he's like, yeah, well, if they saw private, I guess they figured we wouldn't just leave incriminating documents around like that. But I love when the president says, the complexity of the plan only implicates you further. And I was like, it's true, man. The more you say, it couldn't, like, I did all this. It's like, well, it's you then, you idiot.
That bit when he's holding his little briefcase and he's like looking around and he's like, that was like Mr. Bean's kind of shit though.
What, when
It was
when he's
very
placed
good.
the money in his bag
Yeah.
Yes.
And he opens it up and he's just like,
and just like, dash that money now, put it somewhere. Stop standing there.
But the thing is, Nishi was there. Nishi planted it, so Nishi was never going to let him like, walk away with it. And this is where I was like, right, 100% now. I was like, if Paul doesn't think this, I'll be very surprised. This is when I was like, well, this is Bruce Wayne. This is some Bruce Wayne Batman shit that this guy's doing at this point. He is this avenging angel. Did you think Batman?
I actually didn't. But as soon as you said it in your first impressions, I was like, yeah, you're right. You're right.
He's that kind of figure. You know, parent died
Dark
and he's
Avenger.
getting revenge on the people. He's the Dark Avenger from within.
Good stuff. He is.
Now, I was a huge fan of the way that Kurosawa shot and executed all of these ghost shots with the taxi lighting up
Absolutely.
Wada.
So well done.
Very
the way,
fun.
The use of the light and how he just like he plays them and makes them disappear into the shadows. It's so, really well done.
Very well done.
Yeah,
Scrooge.
because obviously I didn't know what I kind of have an idea of Hamlet, but I'm not sure 100%. I didn't know about the ghosts and stuff. But
I don't remember any of that from the Simpsons episode I saw.
But I was thinking, why are they suddenly revealing him? What's this going to do? And then he disappears. I was like, oh, they're trying to like make him lose his mind.
They want this motherfucker to go mad. And a lot of people went mad in this film.
Yeah.
I mean,
Too easy.
From the beginning, to be fair.
He kind of had this neurotic kind of energy from the start, I think. So it's quite easy to believe that he would fall that way.
Yeah, it's true. But as time goes on, like, I mean, it's Kurosawa. It's the performance by the actor, but it's Kurosawa the way he shoots Shirai, because Shirai really looks like he's fucked at the end. He looks so tormented by the time he goes mad.
Yeah, and that was such a good little twist as well. You think, oh, Nishi's poisoned him now, just thrown the poison in his mouth, and I was like, I did think that was pretty instant poison.
Yes.
It was like, oh, he's still alive. They love double bluffing you in this.
They do love double bluffing, and even that was beautiful. When you think the guy that the vice president has sent along to kill him is going to just do in Shirai, and then Nishi jumps in, saves him, only to take him up to the same floor his father was sat at, and be like, jump, drink, or fucking jump.
Yeah. I think he did. He was giving him a choice, wasn't he? He was like, you could just jump. I feel like he would let him jump if he wanted to.
Nishi would have let him jump, yeah.
Yeah.
What, even though Wada was like, come on, look at you, you can't be like this. And I like it, actually, because it's true. In the moment, because Wada by this point has kind of, even though he's traumatized, he's kind of started atoning for what his involvement in the death of Fury, I think his name was. And he's like, oh, come on, just like, he's sorry for what he did. He's not the same man.
Are you thinking that Wada was involved? I don't think he was even involved.
And they were both involved, because he says to him, Nishi says to him, who are you to forgive? You aren't positioned to forgive. You were as much to blame. He says something like, you were there. You were involved.
No, I think he was only involved in the recent plot of the big fake bid.
Oh, yeah, that's
That's what he got arrested for. And then he's basically joined forces with him, because obviously it's not as bad as a crime as killing your father.
No.
I don't believe he was actually involved in it.
No, okay. Yeah, you're probably right.
Surely Nishi would have.
Death.
I was waiting for that to happen. Nishi to like say you're involved with it as well, and like give him a punishment as well, but he never does. He just saves him. That's why he's like.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why when he's about to kill himself, he's like, "Why are you gonna do this for these people?"
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
So.
I love the idea of this Nishi guy just collecting people who should be dead, though. All these people that people think, oh, that one's dead. He's just collecting them.
Keeping them somewhere.
But all of that was very good. And I liked, and this is how good it was, that even though Shirai's this terrible fucking person, when you think he's about to be killed by that vice president's henchman, you don't want him to get shot, so you're kind of relieved.
Because they're just all like underlings, kind of just going along with because what else can they do? They know they're going to end up getting killed if they don't do what they're saying. It's all like, don't they mention something of about the top dog? Yeah, they say the top dog never gets it because you're always covering for the boss.
Yes,
and you'd never give up the boss.
Yeah.
So it's all that pride, isn't it? And honor, the honor system.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
Very good. And I would say that the next 10 to 15 minutes are where I was enjoying it until it gets to the bit where it dips for me. So I enjoy from between here and the reveal that Nishi is who Nishi is. I was enjoying. So I even though it was a bit ridiculous when the vice president sent his man off to see the widow of Furia.
With the
just
picture.
Offers up all this information and the picture conveniently that she just has, and he's like, "Oh, please find him," and there he is, with that grimace on his face. Him. I know.
It's like,
and it's like, how high quality was that picture? How fucking high quality was that picture for the 60s?
I know.
For someone in the background. and his expression changes the more you zoom into that image.
I think
If you see the first time you see that
multiple pictures
image,
and didn't know which one to use.
100%. And also, why are you revealing yourself like that? Because even though you're clinging to that post, you're grimacing. Everyone's going to turn around and go, "Who's this guy? What's he so angry and upset about over here?"
And also, who's taking the pictures at the funeral?
I know, very, very
I guess the
poor
press did.
taste.
I guess the press did.
The press,
even
the
press,
Greek
even the
chorus.
press, you don't take pictures at a funeral, do you?
Well, he was connected to public course, so they probably thought, "Oh, this
Maybe.
is in the public interest."
Maybe.
The press is scum anyway. Piers Morgan sent them. and then when Nishi revealed, when he gets home and Yoshiko's brother is angry with him and Nishi legs it, up to that point I was like, okay, all of this has been solid. And it's this last 30-40 minutes which it doesn't completely let the film down, but it's a dip for me.
Yeah.
For a few reasons.
Just
because
like
the pace slows down.
I like the bit of them keeping the other guy in the prison. Like, I kind of like some aspects of that. But
did you like the stupid clown music every time they opened the door to his cell?
No, it's a bit odd, wasn't it?
I didn't like that at
just
all.
a bit like, I don't know. It felt like everything's got a bit out of control in the film and in the writing and everything like that. And it's kind of like, I don't know, everybody's had enough and everybody just wants out now.
They were kind of playing it for a punchline, wasn't it? Because he was like, "I would never give up anyone," and then it'd be the next scene him eating the food. It was almost like a little punchline. But I don't know. I kind of liked it. What I wasn't sure about was all the exposition about how he met Nishi. I was like,
I agree. Who gives a fuck? Who cares?
Yeah,
I agree. We don't need to know it.
All you need to say was, "Oh yeah, so you took my identity. I'm the real Nishi." But all right, that's cool.
Exactly. This Nishi guy, like, who cares? He's like, "Oh yeah, I was a post-war baby." It's like, "Oh, good for you, mate. This has nothing to do with the rest of the story that we're interested in. We're not watching your story, mate. We're watching the fake Nishis." The one thing I did like during all this sort of cave time, if that's what you want to call this stuff, is that Wada says like that. Because I'm glad that they keep bringing it back to her, and Wada is typically the one to keep doing it. Says that Yoshiko, the daughter, is a genuinely sweet person, and what you're doing is not nice. And I wish there was a way for a peaceful resolution. And I liked that character of Wada was bringing it back to that, because it's true. Like, it would be very easy in this film to just be like, "Come on, Nishi, all the way, do your thing, Nishi, get your revenge." But it is true, that is his big flaw.
Yeah.
And I don't think it is that he's becoming a bit sinister himself in his pursuit for revenge and a bit torturous himself. That, for me, I can live with that, because an eye for an eye. But the way that he's doing Yoshiko, who is a nice person, she is a sweet person, yeah, that ain't cool. I didn't like that.
But she's just pretty, like, there's no level to her though, really, is there?
Well, I thought that at first, because she doesn't have too much agency. However, like, she does, she's a nice person, and not just a subservient person. She actually seems to like him. She has quite a leveled conversation with him when Wada brings her to him to say, "I know what you're saying to me about my father, but he's always been good to me," and breaks down. It's like, there's a level here. She's like, "What you're saying, I believe, but it hurts because that is not the man that I know." I thought that was very good.
Yeah. I like the not liked, but the line right at the beginning talking about her saying, my daughter with her unsullied brilliance."
With her what?
Unsullied brilliance. That's what he called her. Oh man, dirty.
She's virginal.
It was quite creepy when she was coming down those stairs, though, in those little shoes. I wasn't quite eerie about that. Those shoes also cannot be comfortable at all. Those wooden shoes. And you get your sock tucked right in against your thing. Like, do you ever wear flip-flops with socks? Like, it's always the most uncomfortable thing.
Well, she had no choice, mate. She was deformed.
I know.
She was. Poor girl.
The actress used uneven shoes and a knee brace to play that role.
Dedication, mate. You could just do a little limp.
I know, mate. She was method acting. Well, that's not even method acting. That's just actually.
That's just acting.
That's acting because you can have no other choice but to do
that's
so.
reality. She's to play what she's feeling.
She literally hobbled herself. Just to say before we get to towards the end of this, at this point in the film, I was like, I don't know if he does or if he is, but Scorsese must have loved this film because it felt by this point like a Scorsese film. It felt like Scorsese could have remade this.
Yeah, I think Scorsese added like an edge onto it, like an explosion, or he loves a little bit of a...
Like an explosion.
He loves something like I don't know, a little bit more.
Well, he would have taken the crux of this story and
for sure,
Americanized it for the mob or whatever. But I bet he loves it. I know he loves Kurosawa, but I bet he particularly likes this film.
Yeah, I can see that. It does feel like the Infernal. Like I can imagine the way Infernal Affairs is how he translated that from
into The Departed.
Yeah, I can imagine him doing something like that for this as well, for sure. Do you want to tackle this ending then?
Yeah, well, so for listeners, let's wrap it up and tell you exactly what happens, and then we can talk about it. So back at the old homestead, Yoshiko returns home, and the father says, "Where is Nishi? Where is Nishi? Because your brother is gone out after him with a gun." And Yoshiko goes, No, I don't believe it. And he's going, "It's true. You've got to say it now, otherwise Nishi's going to be hurt." So she tells her father where Nishi is. And then she says, "I'm coming with you." And the father says, "Oh, drink this." And I thought he was killing her at first.
I thought he was killing himself.
Well, that's what I thought. And then I realised, when he was thanking that person on the phone, he actually was thanking them for like a sleeping thing.
Yeah.
At first, I thought it was really funny because I thought he was saying, "Oh, very considerate of you to have the drug delivered to my home." I thought he was actually thanking them for delivering the death poison.
Yeah, like a suicide, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
when really the
drugs.
title of this film is the opposite. The bad don't sleep very well.
Ah, yes, there we go. And
sleeping pills.
Anyway, he puts his daughter to sleep and off he goes. By the time she comes to, her brother's home and he says, "I've just been hunting for grouse. Quickly, we've got to go to get Nishi." And on the way to Nishi's, they see a car ripped to shreds on a train track. They drive past it. They turn up and it's very quiet there. And all that remains is the real Nishi who says, "You fucked it. They came. They killed Nishi, your Nishi. They killed Wada. They get away with it." And then the film closes with two kids walking into their father's office saying, "We're leaving you." And the father gets on the phone to some higher ups and says, I haven't been sleeping very well. And the film ends.
It was a very end, wasn't it? It was like a...
Yes.
It wasn't seen like an end. It was just like, oh, okay.
It was like a No Country for Old Men kind of feel, where you don't see what supposedly has happened. But in this sense, I was like, surely this is part of the plan. I felt like this was part of Nishi's plan, and the other Nishi was kind of making up a story about how they disappeared.
Now, see, I kept thinking that the whole way through the ending, and I thought we're gonna have the reveal. We're gonna have the reveal, but it never came because it felt so strange to me that after following Nishi for so long, we're robbed of a scene where we actually see him in a showdown with the president and get killed. The fact that this guy was telling it, I was like, well, this is not true. I don't believe it. But then when it ended, I was like, well, but it did happen, because that final message is that greed and evil does win. That's just it. Even if you're a hero.
Because I'm guessing we assume to believe that the president sent people to kill him. So, but then could you see it in a way where the plan all along was to make the family leave? So now he has no family. He's lost his loved one, just like he lost his loved one.
Well, it would be so layered to get to that point. I think that would be nice if that was the case. But I just think this is where Kurosawa dropped the ball with the story. It's almost yeah. I agree. Yeah, it probably was not played that Nishi was part of Nishi's and
plan.
I think me and you both like the fact that actually the good guy didn't win.
Yeah, for sure.
and that
for
the
sure.
good guy died. We didn't want the good guy not to win, but it makes for a more dramatic and like, bittersweet fucking story after everything that he
Absolutely.
didn't fucking win.
Yeah, for sure.
He won
For
in
sure.
a way because the kids are gone, but
There's a slight small victory. But yeah, there's
and, I mean that's a messed up way to do it as well, isn't it? To inject him with all that alcohol so that when they do the blood test, he's got alcohol in his system. Very would that hold up in modern times? I don't know.
I guess it would. Unless they find the needle scar.
Well, yeah, that's it. They would see the needle scar. Yeah, they would.
the thing that doesn't hold up for me is how does Nishi, the other Nishi, know all of this? Like to the point of him being injected with the alcohol, him going in the car crashing. It's like, how do you know all this?
Didn't he say something about
They would not spare him because he knows all the stuff.
No, I know, but didn't he say something about him? He wasn't there. Like he had been sent away. He had to do something with one of the cars or something, and that's.
But then how would
I
he
feel
know?
like he had come back and found out this stuff.
I don't know. I feel like I agree, right? So I think yes, Nishi is probably dead, and I like the fact that it's a kind of gritty, realistic ending, but I kind of like the idea that not everything is answered though, so maybe something else was happening. I kind of like that little like teaser as well.
Do you know what it is? It's the Game of Thrones problem, where they went too far. They didn't know how the source material was going to end, so they did their own thing. In Hamlet, and again, this is just like top level notes. Ophelia is the Yoshiko character. Ophelia in Hamlet, when she finds out what Hamlet is doing, or Nishi, when she finds out his intentions, in a mad fury, she kills him. And I think if we had Yoshiko in this, in a mad fury, kill Nishi, that would have been more satisfying and been like, oh fuck, because of the hurt that you caused her, she killed you and stopped you from getting revenge on a real bad guy, and you died because you were bad to her, so you deserve that death. But because it was delivered by the president, it's bittersweet.
Yeah, I think there's this thing in this culture as well about not, as they say, not unsullying women. They need to be these perfect kind of vessels of pure innocence, and that's why they wouldn't have done that.
I suppose so, and there you go, and that's what sort of hobbles the story a little bit there. And just to be clear, it's not that I didn't like that he died or I didn't like the last 5 minutes. When I say I didn't like the ending, I just didn't like this whole last half hour. It just dragged too much. It lost a lot of the steam and all of that. That's what I didn't like.
Have such an amazing opening, and then it kind of it doesn't go.
It had a great story, then it lost itself a bit for me.
It starts off so high, steady, and then at the end it kind of like a pretty steep drop at the end.
Yeah,
but not completely ruined.
Not completely ruined, and
it's not what we wanted.
To bring it all back to the beginning and the title, The Bad Sleep Well. Why do you think it is called The Bad Sleep Well? Given that the president's last words of the film, because they die hardest. What do you mean by this?
I feel like when the film seems like sleep in it, I mean, it's like when they're dead, like they're all dead.
Okay, yeah, I suppose the bad sleep well, the bad die well. Yeah,
they certainly don't actually.
What would you say? What was the other title you said it was?
It was
because that sounded more like
the worse the villain, the better they sleep.
Yeah, that was kind of like, again, I think.
So maybe the better it feels that they die.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is, you heard that thing, I know it's in a movie or a TV show, and they say if you have an innocent person and a guilty person in a police cell, and you don't know which one is which, leave them overnight, and when you come back in the morning, the one who's sleeping is the guilty person because they've finally been caught, so they can rest, whereas the innocent person is terrified, so they'll be awake.
Yeah, okay.
But that didn't add up with anything in this.
Yeah.
And also, the bad guy, the vice president, Itabuchi, he at the end was like, "Oh, I didn't sleep very well last night." So what are you saying? He's not a bad guy? You've called your film The Bad Sleep Well, and then you have your bad guy at the end going, "Oh, I didn't sleep very well last night."
Literally,
what are you saying, Kurosawa?
Pills.
The Bad Sleep Well, like I would and there's a bit of things with the bad sleep well, as in like the rest of us, all us normal people, we toss and turn because we have worries and troubles, but the bad sleep well because they don't worry about shit. They rip everyone off, and they just get their own way. So they sleep
in
well.
luxury.
Yeah, they ain't worried about nothing.
But actually sleeping, they can't.
They can't.
The metaphorical sleeping, they can.
They can. I tell you what, I'm going to sleep very well after having recorded this episode, because I wondered if we would have a good conversation about this, because it felt like such a behemoth of a film. But actually, we've done this very much justice, I would say.
Yeah, I think so. I absolutely think so. I'm excited to see what we rate this film.
Yes. Shall we do that then?
Yes.
Come on then, let's do it.
All right. I am going to give this a not entirely convincing but worthy 8.
Ooh, okay. I am going to give this film a 6.
Yes,
I knew it was going to be.
so.
I knew it was going to be some of that.
And Paul will give it.
I'm giving it a solid 8, mate. Solid 8.
We give it a solid 8. There we go. 2 8s and a 6. So with Kurosawa, our very first Kurosawa, that means we have a 7.33 average, which means this film
got about a million films to go against.
Well, it's going to go against the film that we did recently that you haven't seen, Adam, so automatically it will go above it for both me and Paul, which was Domino. I'm going to put it above Domino, obviously.
I wouldn't put it above Domino, I don't think.
Well, I think we said last time, because Adam hadn't seen it, it goes
anyway,
above. Yeah. Oh, mate, fuck. I need to think about this, so I'm not going to say it quickly. Possum.
You give Possum like a 6.
No, I don't. Might give it a
you
7. I didn't give it a 6. Oh yeah, I gave it a 7. Yeah, I give Possum a 7. Okay, yeah, it's better than Possum.
It's over.
It's better than Avengers Endgame.
Well, I don't have to speak. Adam, what do you think?
What did Adam give Avengers Endgame is the question.
Oh shit, it doesn't beat it. It doesn't. He gives Endgame high.
There you go. So Kurosawa does not beat the Marvel machine. So coming in at 100, or it looks like 100 on our list, but it's not. Above Possum, but below Avengers Endgame is The Bad Sleep Well.
Do you want me to tell you what film we're doing next?
Yeah, what are we doing next? Tantalise us. Don't reveal it straight away.
First of all, let me just ask you a question, because this is kind of critical to whether we watch this film or not.
Oh, wow.
Did you get your BFI player trial, and is it still going?
Yes.
I pay for it, so I don't. I always have it.
Absolutely perfect. That means we can do this film. And as we've been doing so far, we've picked a film from every different country, haven't we? Every different film has been a different country.
It has.
So this time, we're going to France.
Ooh.
A 1960 film from France. And this is a genre which we haven't done yet in this round either. You could kind of call The Housemaid this genre, but not in a complete way. But
A thriller way.
This class is a thriller as well, but it's a thriller horror.
Okay.
None of us have seen it. And
Interesting.
I have no idea what it's about. I've seen the picture, I've seen the poster, seen it for a long time. It's been on our watch list for a long time, and I feel like it's been on your watch list for a long time, Ben.
Yes, I think I know what it is, but I won't say.
And this is Eyes Without a Face.
Oh, yes. This
by
can be very
Georges
intriguing.
That
Franju.
is a weird looking poster.
Hey,
Yeah.
boys, you know it's connected to something we've done before.
Is it? What is it?
Oh, yeah. And we talked about it on the episode without knowing that we'd one day actually do the film itself. In Holy Motors, at the end, the woman who is in it is the woman from this film, and she wears the mask from this film, and they have a conversation about it. When we were talking about it in Holy Motors, we were like, oh, there's this French film that was this horror film that was very well renowned, and they're paying homage to it.
Oh, wicked.
It's a
I might
very
have to
short film
watch
as
this
well.
and watch Holy Motors.
Yeah, do a double header.
I think this is the first time we've done a round we haven't gone to America.
Oh, good riddance.
Yeah, leave it out. Leave it out. You do enough films.
Yeah, they do.
Let's get
we're
some
going to be
culture
going
in our
right
listeners.
to America. We're going to be going super American in the first film of our next round.
We'll do all
So-
America, all out America next round probably.
We will. Well, that's very exciting.
Right, guys, can't wait for that film. But shall we move on to what our patrons have to say this week?
Yeah, let's hear what the patrons have to say.
Okay, so our patrons, they send us what they've been watching for the past week, the good and the bad, and then we tell you whether you should watch it or not, based on our own opinions and their opinions.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you want to do that, you can do that at www.patreon.com/filmbusters, and you become part of the family, just like the likes of Luke Bennett.
Yes, you can. You can also join Francis Iberini.
You can also join Andy Bishop.
You can join Steve and Mark from Movie Drone.
Yes, you can. You can join Brent from Home Video Hustle.
You can join Luke Human.
You can join Mr. Lerdrevert with an L.
Lerdrevert. Ooh,
Lerdrevert.
You've got Julio, who will be joining us on the podcast very soon.
Oh, yes.
Well, secrets.
You can. Secrets, but he's coming. He's
Oh,
coming,
spot that for
listeners.
everybody.
Everyone's very excited to know that Julio's coming back.
It's like Santa
Our
Claus
little,
is coming.
I know. Our little Peruvian bear is returning.
Better bring those
You could-
sandwiches.
and also Jamie Russell, who has featured yet again on the Movie Jewel podcast with Pete. Go and check that episode out. I believe they did it on Sam Raimi. I haven't listened yet, but I'm going to be listening imminently.
I need to watch The Quick and the Dead first, and then I can get to it. But finally, we got Katie Noti from the For Your Reference podcast.
Who kicked off this whole damn round,
Abso-bloody-lutely.
which has been most tantalising so far, I must say.
It has been. It has been. Right, so first of all, we got Luke Human, and he says, "Good to have you all back, and thanks yet again for broadening my cinematic horizons with your recent picks." There we go, look. These 1960
good.
picks, mate. They've been broadening horizons everywhere.
Thanks for saying so, Luke. That's
Yes.
cool.
There you go. He caught up on a newie and an oldie this week. 2023's 65 was a good-looking but underwhelming. He's doing some welding. Underwhelming, reluctant
Underwater welding.
protector flick with nowhere near as many dinosaurs as the trailer and premise would have you believe. 5 out of 10. Well, are you interested in seeing that film?
I keep seeing advertisers. I had no interest in that.
Is that
kind
the
of
Adam
was
Driver
interested.
one?
Adam Driver, yeah.
I'm intrigued because it's Adam
I'm
Driver.
intrigued.
But
That's
if it wasn't
exactly
Adam
it,
Driver,
yeah.
I wouldn't be. But now that he gives it 5 out of 10, I'm no longer intrigued.
Gonna fall by the wayside.
Yeah.
Yeah. He also said 1996 Big Night, however, was a melancholy love letter to Italian cuisine and the immigrant struggle to achieve the American dream, with performances and a witty script that belies the restricted budget. This, like Babette's Feast, explores the human condition eloquently through the language of food. 9 out of 10!
Yeah,
Very
I've
good.
had it on my list to watch
Yes.
so long.
I've never heard
I
of it.
bet me and you got it on the list for the same reason, Adam, I
It's
bet.
got Stanley Tucci, and he directed
Yes.
Tuki.
Ah, did he direct it?
it. Yeah,
Oh, shit.
I think he did. Anyway.
wow.
Maybe don't go
Fast track that little bad boy then. Sounds a little like it could be like the menu slightly.
We'll go to
Probably not, actually.
I mean, it's probably
Go
more like
to
to be like
G.
a chilled out version of Boiling Point, but actually in a restaurant rather than chaos.
Who wants to see the chilled out version of Boiling Point?
Tell you what, I've been
Simmering
watching The
Point.
Bear recently, and The Bear is very good TV.
I've started too.
Oh, mate.
It is very good.
Where are
I
you?
watched the first episode. I'm like, this is too manic, and stop watching.
Oh, okay, if you don't like that, then you're not going to like it. How far have you
It's
got
just
with
too
it?
manic.
Bull.
What do you say?
How far have you got?
I've watched the first 4 episodes.
Okay. I've finished, well, I've watched all of it now. Season 2 has, I think, some of the best run of episodes of TV. I loved them. There was like 3 or 4 of them in a row. I was like, every episode is so good. And you end up binging it a bit because they're only like 25 minutes, half an hour episodes.
Yeah, that's what me and Zoe did. We did that in one sitting. 4
Yeah,
episodes.
exactly. That's what I mean. That's why you can notice how good some of these episodes are back to back. But it's great
Yeah.
TV. But we definitely will be checking out Big Night sometime soon.
Yeah, that sounds like a good shout. Thank you.
That does sound like a good shout.
Next up, we got Katie and Oti. They said, we watched Gran Turismo and both felt met on it. This decidingly underdog story is squandered by the creative choices of the protagonist's motivation and turning point in the film. The biggest red flag, though, is it takes the flashy Hollywood element out of the Fast and Furious franchise to focus on the boring parts. Cars, lol, love yous, X.
Yeah, I mean, Gran Turismo as a game was pretty crap, so I don't
I
really
always
know
like the
why a
games
film
of
would be
Gran
better.
Turismos, but I don't know if I have any interest in seeing that film. I might watch it if it comes out on streaming at some point, but there's nothing really about it that looks like it's going to stand out.
It's got like David Harbour in it. It's like, what are you doing?
And Orlando Bloom.
Why are you in that Ghost film as well? It's like, what are you guys doing? Just get out of this
I'm
film.
getting that Stranger Things money.
Well, that's the thing. Before Stranger Things, David Harbour was like, what?
It's true.
He'd been in Revolutionary Road and was brilliant in it, and that was about it.
I thought he'd elevated himself.
Yeah,
But then he just went in, we have a ghost, and
Yeah, it's just bank. It's just bank. He was very good when we saw him on stage in the play. I can't remember what it was called, the Madhouse or something like that. He was very good in that.
well, at least he had his good moments.
Few and far between.
He's probably there just like he's like a big enough name now probably to sell films, isn't he?
I'm not watching that film.
No, but there's people who don't know are always good.
It's Stranger Things, man.
But as well, I went to see the Meg 2 and we'll be talking about that in my end of month wrap up.
Why? Because it'll be your best of the year.
It's
best
either
of the month.
best film or worst, so you can decide.
But knowing you, it will be your best.
You're the one who liked the first one more.
No. You know that's not true.
We'll talk
Exactly.
about that maybe at the end of the month.
And let's wrap it up with Jamie Russell, who says, good to have all three of you back. There was far too much agreement in the last two episodes. Well, we were fairly agreeing today, apart from Adam. The Good was a first watch of Living in Oblivion, a very funny behind-the-scenes film following the frustrations of producing a low-budget indie film. I was going to watch this the other day. Steve Buscemi is reliably fantastic in the central role of an increasingly frustrated and irate director, working with all sorts of constraints to his artistic vision. Well worth checking out. Oh, Jamie, and now you're breaking my heart with this next one, man. I heard Glenn Dennis say this on the Always Sunny podcast, and this is not good, because I have good memories of this. The Bad was a rewatch of The Three Amigos. I remember it being reasonably funny at the time, but considering the comedic talent behind and in front of the screen, the material is stretched thin and the comedy is often laboured, a missed opportunity. That's a shame. I have great memories of The Three Amigos. You boys seen that?
I've never seen it. I've always been meaning to.
Steve Martin, Chevy Chase,
Yeah.
Martin Short. Because I love Always Murders in the Building. Only Murders in the Building. I wanted to see Steve Martin and Martin Short again, but yeah, Jamie. You're not the first person to say he doesn't hold up as well anymore. That's a shame.
That's sad. But films do that sometimes to break your heart.
My dad, I loved that.
Breaky heart.
Is Living in Oblivion the one where Steve Buscemi's got really long hair and he's on the front with like bulging
Yeah,
eyes?
he's got a baseball cap going back as well. What do you mean? That's what he's always got bulging eyes. He always looks like a blowfish that's about to explode.
I love him. I love that man.
Yes,
That's it.
we all love Steve.
That's the patron recommendations right there. So take what you will
Thanks, patrons.
and go watch them.
Thanks.
And that's the end of the episode. What are we doing now, guys?
Scorned lovers or revenge films or
Well, we're basically going to talk about lovers, and since this came from our
Lovers.
friends and lovers, Katie and Oti, it's going to be about lovers who are jaded and scorned.
and want revenge.
Bored and angry, jaded and scorned, all manner of lovers. We're just going to be talking about lovers.
Yes.
All the lovers. Let's do it. And if you want to do that, come over and you can. It's very cheap and we would love to have you as part of the family. But other than that, we'll see you next time for Eyes Without a Face.
Tales Busters.